Arjuna asked, he asked about what is the kshetra, that is what is body, what is kshetragya, that is the soul, that is in the Jnana terminologies. Soul is the knower of the body, and also there is the super soul. And he spoke about Purusha and Prakriti. So he asked about kshetragya and he also asked about Purusha because they both are souls. It's just when the soul is in condition to consciousness, it's called as Purusha because it has a enjoying tendency. It has an enjoying tendency. So the soul is called as Purusha. However, the original Purusha we call Krishna. The original Purusha is the Supreme Lord. Kriti is the material nature. Kshetra, the body, is also made up of matter, but it's only a smaller unit. But the material nature is the source of all of that. And he also asked about Jnana and Gyeya, means what is knowledge and who is the object of knowledge. So these are the 6 questions that Arjuna had asked. And this particular chapter, which is called as Jnana Chakshu, developing the spiritual vision or seeing the world with the eyes of knowledge, is not explicitly requested by Arjuna. However, Krishna not just answer Arjuna's questions alone, but he also gives a conclusion that yes, Arjuna, you are interested in knowing about the body, the soul, the super soul, the material nature, what is knowledge, what is the object of knowledge, but what is the purpose of knowledge? What is the effect of knowledge? What is the result of knowledge? That also he is explaining. Yeah, knowing all of these topics individually is fine, but overall, when you understand all of them, what is the effect of it? What's going to happen? So that is the conclusion of this chapter. And it is from verses 27 to 35. And as we go, we will see more what's in these verses and how they could be applied. And today also, we're reading a lot of purpose from Prabhupada. So naturally, the question is, oh, Krishna has spoken a lot already. So why is Krishna speaking these verses? What's the reason? As I said, he's just summarizing. Krishna is basically summarizing and synthesizing the entire philosophical framework that he so far presented in this chapter. He so far in this chapter presented about Jnana and Gyeya. So that whole philosophical framework, he is synthesizing it and he's offering that how this framework eventually can offer us eyes of knowledge. And that's the reason he is speaking this particular section, even though explicitly was not questioned by Arjuna or asked by Arjuna. So in the verse 27, Krishna speaks about, oh Arjuna, no, whatever you see in existence, both non-moving and moving, is only a combination of field of activities and knower of the field. Can anyone say what is a field of activities in this particular translation? What is a simpler word for a combination of, when they say combination of field of activities and the knower of the field, what are simpler terms?
Prakriti.
Field of activities? Could be, there is something more specific.
Body and soul.
Body and soul. Yes, Chakras. That is like, of course you can say Prakriti, but the more accurate would be like body and soul, because we are speaking about whatever you see in existence, the moving and the non-moving. So what moving is like animals, human beings, insects, birds, all of these things. And then the non-moving is plants. So all of them are individual entities. So that means it's a combination of body and soul. So he's giving a vision now that how to see the world. So wherever there is life, it's a combination of soul and the body in the material world. So everything arises from the union of the field and the knower, a combination of that. And in the purport, we will read that Prabhupada writes, without the touch of this superior nature, the soul, nothing can grow. If you see even the plants or the animals or the human beings, when the soul leaves the body, then the body starts deteriorating. So without soul, there cannot be any growth and sustenance. Temporarily, there may be sometimes you cut a branch of a tree, it can be green for a while. However, yeah, it may eventually die down when there is no touch with the spirit soul. Seeing all beings moving or not as combinations of spiritual matter, not just objects to use or judge. That is what Krishna is asking Arjuna to develop. So look at everything as a combination of a body and the soul. So what do you think can happen or how it can help you if you could see like that? Any thoughts? If this kind of consciousness can be kept in the forefront, that everything I see, including myself, all living objects are a combination of soul and body. What do you think practically can happen? Any thoughts? Yes, Mother.
I think for me, it would be, I would be more patient with people or in general, or with
even an insect trying to bite me. Yeah, more compassionate.
Yeah, more compassionate. That's very nice. Yeah, more compassionate, because it's very hard. Even with our own selves, it sometimes can be hard. So what they call as self-love is, there is a lot of love. Self-love is not pampering or justification or feel good kind of a thing. For that to be very real, one also needs to, because even there is a very fine line between confidence and arrogance, honesty and like arrogance. So it can be very helpful to know what is the real self in order to be able to love the self, to have that confidence, real kind of a confidence, and also compassion to oneself. Okay, I did this, but this is not the end of it. I could be better. To be able to hold oneself compassionately and encourage and move on. We all do mistakes. We all actually fall short in many ways. However, to think, oh, this is me, can be quite dampening to our enthusiasm. So not just with others, with our own selves, it can help to be very compassionate if we can understand whatever negative things or whatever deficiencies I have, that's not me. It's a temporary recovery. I'm responsible for it. I can work on it, but it's not just me. That alone does not define me. So that way, it can be very. We can practice compassion not just with others, with ourselves also. It's sometimes very easy to be compassionate to random people. Very hard to be compassionate to one's family members, and extremely hard to actually be very compassionate to ourselves also. So that could be a very good application or like benefit of understanding this knowledge. Anybody else?
Okay, say something? Yeah. Oh, it's open. Yeah, I have ever since, knowing this, it's been, I always tell myself is to look into that, like when you see someone, not to be selective. And because, I have like, it's sometimes a condition to be prejudgmental about people. And now it's like, okay, well, you got to let that go because you got to look at this in a new light. So it really is, it really makes it easier getting through life this way because I'm not as bothered as easily. It's like I don't know. It's nice. It's nice to see it that way. The other thing is when you mentioned the plant, I was just thinking how you can take a plant and you can cut a branch and you can replant it, and you can also take a plant and you can graft it. So I was just thinking about that when you said
Yeah,
that.
means unless like just the grafting alone all the time does not guarantee that it will come.
No.
Sometimes and sometimes not. So if the nature allows, like if a newer soul can take that place of the body and it can continue to grow, yes, it can. But sometimes it's not sanctioned, so then it won't happen. So it's a technique. It's not like a. It's the same with we giving birth to babies.
Okay.
In a different sense, though, it's very gross. You cut in, we choose, we cut in. We think we can choose, but it not all the time it will work. Anybody else feels like, okay, by developing a vision of trying to see the whole, because why I'm asking for opinions or like your inputs is the rest of these 7 or 8 verses is the same topic. It's not going to be, each verse is not going to be a very different thing. Krishna is going to re-emphasize this thing. He's going to just bring the super soul into the picture. Otherwise, this is the gist of the whole section. If I have to say it in one line, this whole knowledge is to be able to see the distinction between the body, the soul, and the presence of the super soul in everything. This is it about this whole chapter. So that's why I'm asking us to think. Yeah, Purva.
It reminds me of 5.18, where the theme of equanimity is yes, seeing the Brahmana, the cow, the elephant, and the dog, and the dog are the same. And then further, it said that if we inculcate this method of equanimity, then it becomes easier to stabilize our mind, and also the path of liberation becomes easier to attain.
Thank you. Exactly. Very similar theme, this whole section. You rightly pointed it out. And that particular verse also speaks who's in knowledge? What is the symptom of a person in knowledge? 5.18. So it calls the person who has that vision as Vidwan, one who has knowledge. So, and interestingly, we are speaking about Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge or wisdom. So yeah, these themes are recurring themes and it's just being explored in more detail. It was mentioned in the passing, in the past chapters. There the context also was because he sees everybody equally, so he develops detachment in order to be able to work. The context of the 5th chapter is have jnana so that you can understand the nature of the world and be detached from it and continue to work. So here specifically, it's about detachment. Okay, see the world as a combination of matter and soul. So you can be detached similarly from the propensity to enjoy the world. Anyone else? What do you think in your own life, if you really focused on this in a very clear way, that how me, I'm a combination of soul and the body, and I have a mind, I have an intelligence, I have a false ego, and how seeing that separately can actually help you? Any experience of being able to see that separately and helping you in that way? Or if you don't, then what do you think can help you to see like that? Oh, my ego is now getting very disturbed, instead of thinking, oh, I'm very angry, and then we think, oh, I'm angry, so then I need to react now. It's me, this person has scolded me, this thing has irritated me. Like even as simple as like a train delay. One of the most, if you want to see the most frustrated face of a New Yorker, all you have to do is be in a subway, what do you call the subway coach, and if the train stops in between, like inside a tunnel, and it just like stops, the AC switches off, and then there is an announcement, we're very sorry for the inconvenience, there's something blah blah going on, and then we will soon it'll restart, and then you can see a sigh in the whole everybody will be like, oh, everything will start. Like it's not the end of life, but it's just that few minutes can cause so much irritation in people, which is very natural, I would say. But also, we're not saying we should be like robots. At the same time, this quick irritability can also come to people in our lives. If we start reacting to every small thing in a, like they say, right, don't be like a teenager. Teenagers can be like very reactive. Every small thing can draw a very quick reaction, so it can actually create too much anxiety for our minds. So how do we? Yes, Purva.
I think I could learn how to apply this to my life, because especially in the day-to-day rejections that I get, different kinds of rejections that appear despite giving my 100% to something, and then I still get rejected, and then I don't know what I did wrong or how I could improve. Instead of it's easier said than done, but instead of blaming myself or considering myself as not worthy of anything, probably it would really help if I learn how to put this into practice and not just crying and wailing about the rejection.
Yeah, and also because it is about life and other people, internally this rejection can this attitude can help you handle the rejection without being discouraged. But on a practical level, you also need to see where is the problem. Like is it, despite you doing your best, where is it, like what is it exactly which is causing that to some extent? Practically, if you look at it, then say for example, if it's for a job, so then you can understand maybe my resume is really not matching, or there needs some kind of a tweak, or there needs some kind of a skill or experience. What exactly? You can, without being discouraged, you can look at how can I actually better this situation or solution. So we can think more solution oriented approach than just because we all would like to have some attention. So when it is not given to us through because of our own credit in terms of our talents, then we will cry and get the acknowledgement, the attention. Okay.
We were while we were on this trip, we were talking to someone, and they said, one of the tools they use is, which I started using myself, trying to remember to use it, is what would love look like in this situation, instead of reacting. And it's like, okay, let's pause. What would a reaction of love look like in this situation, instead of getting angry or reacting? That's helped me a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a good way of putting it. Very practical. What would love look like in this situation? Yes, thank you for reminding us. Others, I know some of you may not be like immediately sharing, but you can surely think in your own life, because it can actually release a lot of confusion, anxiety on a personal note. Because there are a lot of situations in which we'll be facing so many kinds of people and situations and emotions. So it's not that we can just be detached and be irresponsible. This detachment is about, okay, this is not just me, I don't need to beat myself down. What can I do actually to better this, benefit this situation? So looking at Prabhupada's purport, a very relatively smaller purports in this section, but very beautiful. So Prabhupada writes, whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. Anything which is living is always a combination of living entity and the material nature in this world. So then Prabhupada said there are many manifestations like trees, mountains, hills, which are not moving. And there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and spiritual nature, the living entity. Naturally, means my ideas like mountains and hills, are they a combination of what do you call like soul and material nature, or just matter? So then they give this example how Ahalya was cursed to be a stone in Ramayana, and when Lord Ram touched her, she immediately resumed her original spiritual form. So even there can be actually stones, not all stones, but stones could also be living entities who are extremely covered in their consciousness for various reasons, like a curse or like an extreme misbehavior or something like that. That is why sometimes I've heard this. I don't know what exactly it means, to be very honest. Like sometimes for making deities, the sthapatis, the sculptures look for a living stone. So I never understood what does it mean like a living stone. So they have ways of searching through it, and they have ways of finding it. But they do so say that. And this curse by that Halya got also is in one example that she just remained a stone for a long time, and then she resumed her form. And because of that, after that, when Lord Ram wanted to cross the Ganga, the boatmen would not actually take him. The boatman said, "Last time you touched a stone, it turned into a woman, I heard. And all I have is only this boat. And I'm already married. I can't handle one wife. And if you touch this boat and the boat turns into a lady, so what will I do with her?" So, no, I don't want to take you. Then Lord Ram says, "No, don't worry. This boat will not turn into a woman, I guarantee you." So then that's how they cross Ganga from Ayodhya to the other side of the Ganga. So yes. So without the touch of the spiritual superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. So these are some of the points from Prabhupada's purport. So the material nature is created by the Supreme Lord, and then the soul, the superior nature, is placed in this material nature. And that is how all these activities and manifestations are taking place. So the next verse is like one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. So we all speak of vision, and here this whole section is going to be speaking about seeing, because that's the biggest trap, that if we see things, then we get bewildered in this world, and we develop desires, and we develop because of those desires, then we do things, and then we get stuck in them. So the seeing aspect is very powerful, and it is extremely influencing. That's why all the advertisements and media, and today the video content is so famous. Everybody is hooked to it because it's extremely powerful, and it is external vision. This seeing is also informed by the internal consciousness. What we see is also based on what consciousness we have. So that's why Krishna is saying, okay, the material eyes you cannot, you can, if it is lacking vision, then you can do a laser surgery and you can get 20 vision. But what Krishna is speaking about, showing is you have to treat your consciousness, because when the consciousness is fixed, we see through that consciousness also. We just don't see through our eyes. This different people can look at different things. They say, right, a person goes to a forest and looks at a lion and thinks, goes to a zoo and thinks, oh, here's a lion which is being like caged, and the lion looks, oh, wish if I was not in the zoo, my lunch is here. So each one is seeing through their own consciousness, and that is why Krishna is saying, let's fix the consciousness, then what you see will become very spiritual. Chakresh, Hare Krishna.
How do you see the super soul in another body?
First of all, then we need to be able to develop that awareness in our own bodies, that we become very fully aware and awakened to the reality of super soul in our own body. Then naturally it will be easy for us to be able to see him everywhere. And also when that awareness is fully developed, it's not that I have to see the super soul in a literal sense, but I have a conviction because I now have a personal experience of awakening my connection with the super soul. So that is why Jnana Yoga process is like, by practicing gradual detachment and applying this knowledge, eventually that we will be able to experience the connection with the super soul within our own body. Then eventually it becomes easy for us to recognize that presence outside.
Yeah, but how do you see the super soul in ourselves?
So that is the whole process of Dhyana Yoga and Jnana Yoga and Bhakti also eventually. So through the process of sadhana, so then you have to follow the rules and regulations. You have to take up to the process, like how Prabhupada has given us, like, okay, you chant Hare Krishna and you follow this regulative principles. and you apply yourself and read about this knowledge and apply it, gradually as the consciousness opens, it will naturally be for us to be able to hear that internal voice. So in the, if you see 6.7, I think Bhagavad, so Jita Atmana means one who has conquered his mind. Jita becomes very peaceful. And in that state of peaceful mental attitude, this person, Paramatma Samahita, so he comes closer to the Paramatma. Basically, he becomes very aware to the voice of the Paramatma in the heart. Even now, the Paramatma's voice is there, but it is muffled and it is kind of covered over the noise of our ego and the unconditioned mind. So the more it is settled, the more it is controlled, naturally this awareness will come out. Does that make sense, Chakresh? For that, there is a process. That process is called as sadhana. So when you do that spiritual practice, then naturally our ability to see, that vision develops, the consciousness clears. That's what Chaitanya also says. Cheta means consciousness. So that is cleansing process through chanting Hare Krishna. And naturally the consciousness evolves and we should be able to see. Any thoughts, Chakresh?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yeah, Krishna. So the process of bhakti is not boring. The more we practice, we should be able to see the revelation of our own consciousness, the evolution of our consciousness. And it's the most adventurous thing in this world. Adventure is such a industry now. It's no more a feeling. It's an industry. You go here, you go there, you do this, you do that. So many things for that feeling of adventure, because otherwise life is boring. But the biggest adventure is to go inside, the journey inside, not just the journeys outside that we take. They are also adventurous, but it is very fleeting. People travel for experience, but experience does not come just by going around and looking at things and eating different food. Yes, that's one part of the experience, but the real experience comes from what we learn from it. What do we apply it in our lives? Then the real experience completely changes. If you just stick to one simple principle, then immediately you will see it is teaching you a lot of things. If someone says, I will commit to waking up in the morning, that one discipline will change a lot in your life. You will see how much resistance is coming from your mind, your senses, so much thing. And if you have to be disciplined, then you have to push yourself, then you will see all these things. So even committing oneself to one thing in life can actually show us so much insight. Otherwise, just going around like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, eye massage. Even going around and seeing deities like without having a service attitude, he would call it as an eye massage. What to speak of having an enjoying tendency and going around looking at to different places? It's again it's like an eye massage. People travel a lot. What life experience has taught them? Like, can they actually develop this ability to see the soul, to see the super soul? So that experience comes from a spiritual practice. And that's why Prabhupada writes in this purport, anyone who by good association can see three things. So what is the basic requirement to be able to see body, the soul and the super soul? Is that you need good association. So in a later one of the purports, Prabhupada will explain what is good association. But for now, good association is satsanga. That means association of spiritually evolved people. So that is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. So it's very hard without coming in touch with a person whose spiritual consciousness is evolved. We will not be able to see these things. Before 20 years or so, like if somebody asks me about these things, I'm like, who cares? I had no interest, no idea, no knowledge. And today I may be like, I can believe that I'm speaking on Bhagavad Gita, I'm teaching Bhagavad Gita to others. Though I know very little, still this whole thing has come because I had some association of devotees. That's all. There is no other qualification. So that's why we sing this prayer. Even a dumb person can speak, not just in the external sense of a person is unable to speak, but what do you know to speak? But of course, today is an age of confidence. Any person who has a camera can speak and put out very confidently what they know. But the real speaking of knowledge, giving knowledge. So even a person who is covered with ignorance, because the soul is not ignorant, it's the covering that is making the soul ignorant. So by the association of a spiritual person, that covering is removed. Like they say, when there is sun, there is no darkness. Similarly, when a spiritual person is there, association is there. Through that knowledge, all the other things are being removed. So the original knowledge, which is there of the nature, which is the nature of the soul, gradually gets revealed. So no one is stupid. A lot of us may think, oh, that person, oh, he's such a stupid. nobody is stupid on a real sense, because the soul has knowledge, naturally the ability to know God. So if one can know God, they know everything in one sense. You say by knowing this spiritual knowledge, everything will be revealed. Will I be able to say how many windows are there in the Empire State Building by studying Bhagavad Gita? First of all, that is not knowledge. That knowing the number of windows in, if you think that is knowledge, that shows who you are. That knowing the number of windows in Empire State, if you think that is knowledge, so then that also shows like how knowledgeable this person is, in one sense. But Prabhupada said, no, what we are speaking is the knowledge that can actually liberate you, the knowledge actually that can set you free, the knowledge that can actually enlighten you. So here, and that enlightenment cannot happen without good association. So that's the first principle. Chakresh, you were asking also, how do I see the super soul? Here, Prabhupada is answering in a much more simpler way than what I attempted to. That just by good association. What is good association? The person who actually has the ability to see those things. So those who do not have such association are ignorant. So they simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist and they go on eternally in various ways. So that is why both the super soul and the individual soul continue even after the body deaths. So they are not destroyed. One can see in this way, can actually see what is happening. So they say, right, death is just end of one chapter. It's not the complete end. So far we have seen that how in verse 27, Krishna spoke about, just a minute, I'm just pulling my purports. In verse 27, Krishna spoke about how whatever is there here, it is a combination of soul and the body. And one also needs to understand the super soul who's accompanying each individual soul in every body that it goes through. And that is the real vision. And in 29th, he is saying, what happens? One, when sees the super soul equally present everywhere, in every living being, he does not degrade himself by the mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. That's the advantage. By developing this kind of a vision, that by learning to see the body, the soul, and especially the super soul equally present everywhere, we don't degrade ourselves by the mind. It is the mind which degrades. We look at things and we get attracted, we get repulsed, we get irritated, we get infatuated. Everything happens through the mind. So once the spiritual knowledge is there, then we won't degrade ourselves by the mind. And through our spiritual practice, gradually we can approach a transcendental destination, internally and externally. So seeing Ishvara or the super soul equally in all and not degrading oneself, that's the essence of this particular thing. So one who has this vision does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality. That is Prabhupada's words from the purport we will see now. So how you see others reveals how you treat yourself also. So how we behave in one area is like an indication how we will do in other areas also. We do think, oh, I can have a different personality at work, I can have a different personality at home, I can have a different personality with the devotees. It can work like that when you really just spend little time everywhere and they're all like for a while. But eventually our original nature will creep through. When we start dealing with the devotees also, if somebody is a con man and attitude at work and in life in general, very irresponsible or very manipulative, they come into association, eventually that will come out. You will see that they bring in their attitude of manipulation even among the association. So it's just like impossible to be one person in one area of life and completely opposite and a different kind of a person. For the sake of work, we may be stoic, sometimes we may be reserved, we may carry ourselves in a certain way. That's different. But to be a person of character, what is our character? If you can be like, I'm so honest at work and I cheat in my life. No, that doesn't, it's not like that. So I'm very professional at my work. I'm like a complete cheater in my personal life. No, it is not like that. So it is an attitude. It will actually seep in everywhere and contaminate everything. So that's why how we treat, how we behave in one area shows up in other areas of life. Similarly, how we see others, how we treat others also reveals how we will treat ourselves. If we very strongly judge others, then we also might end up strongly judging and discouraging ourselves. It's highly possible. So in order to avoid the traps of envy and judgment, envy is indirect appreciation. So we really look at something and we appreciate that, but we are just like envious. So it is an indirect appreciation that something great is here, something I want, and I wish I had this, is being possessed by somebody else. So that is what is envy. And or it is judgment, or judgment could be coming from a place of pride. So one is inferiority complex, the other one is a superiority complex. So all of these things can actually degrade ourselves. This is all the diseases of the mind and the ego. And so By developing this vision of the super soul through proper good association and personal spiritual practice, one can actually get out of these traps of envy and judgment. They just waste our time so much. And Instagram is an app designed to make us envious. Hardly people can be happy just going through Instagram profiles of their friends for an hour. Take it as a challenge. All you have to do is just only look at your friends and equals and whoever you know, or like you aspire to be someone like that. You just go around in their WhatsApp and you'll be seeing, oh, they're traveling, they're eating in this restaurant, they're like taking pictures in this vacation spot and all of these things. And you feel like naturally, oh, why them and why not me? It's a very natural feeling that is being fueled by this. And especially youngsters, then they start thinking, oh, my friend went there and clicked a picture, I need to go there. They don't say it very loud, but it's the internal processing that happens. They have this dress, they are being with this person, they're doing this, they're doing that. So you see all of that. So all your desires are created in comparison with others. You don't even know whether that is you actually like it or not. You just want to do it because somebody else is doing it. So whole day just sitting and browsing what my friends are doing, what people of my age are doing, how they're enjoying life, and how they're doing this, that. So they become like completely obsessed with, they also need to have that same fashion, they also need to have the same gadget, they also need to go to the same place, they need to dress like that, act like that. And what do you see? And they think that's very cool. So they lose their original personality. They become somebody else. They become possessed by somebody else's what is being shown on the screen. So a company can pump in a few $100,000 million and make a whole generation of people think in a certain way, dress in a certain way, behave in a certain way. It does not take a lot for these companies to make that happen. And that's what is happening. Why would you think Instagram is a free app? If people are spending so much time, it's a very common sense. Just start charging people so much money. How many people in this world use Instagram and for how long they use? Just start charging the app. Why they're giving for free? Because you are not using Instagram. They are using you. You are the consumed. You are not a consumer. You are the consumed. We are all the consumed objects of these social media and all these things. So they're teaching us what kind of desires we need to have, what kind of dress we need to wear, what kind of food is cool, what kind of places are cool. So they are developing new desires. They're creating a new layer of a personality which we might didn't even have before, making us a different people completely. So if we want to escape that trap of envy and judgment and being influenced by others and being manipulated by others, then we need to have a spiritual vision. It's not, oh, it's for old people, it's for people like Garshanandas who have no other thing to do in life. No, it's for every single one of us, for our own benefit. That if there is no spiritual vision, the quality of our life is going to be not that good. So if you want a better quality of life, then you should have a better vision. So Prabhupada writes, the living entity, if one understands that the supremacy, that the Paramatma is manifested in everywhere, in everyone, then he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality. Because envy can lead to a lot of destructive mentality. Judgment is a destructive mentality. So then we can actually not degrade ourselves with our mind. Lust, anger, envy, pride, greed, illusion, all of these things are destructive mentalities. They can degrade the quality of our life. So the mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes. But when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. So that is why it's not an, oh, okay, I'll maybe in the future I'll try if I can develop a spiritual vision. No, if you really want a good quality of life, then it's not an option. It's a mandatory. So now that Krishna said, everything is a combination of body and soul, and there is super soul in everybody. And anyone who learns to see that is actually having the real vision. So now what is he saying? He's saying one who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Actions are done by the nature, not the soul. But the problem is you will be responsible because your desires are like steering the wheel. The car is different from me. The road, I did not create the roads. The weather, I did not decide the weather. However, if I crash, who's responsible for it? If I speed, who's responsible for it? Because I am the one who's holding the wheel. Similarly, the activities are performed by the body. It's the body which is doing. Say, for example, if I do not have a bodily ability, I won't be able to do, right? I really wanted to say, go and buy something. And if I was sick, or if I did not have if functions of mobility in my body, if my hands and legs were not functioning, then I won't be able to do, though I have desires. I would like to dance, but if my legs are like sprained, and if I'm in a condition that I cannot dance, I won't be able to do it. So it's the body which actually facilitates. So in that sense, all the activities are performed by the body. Without the body, we won't be able to perform the activities. However, the soul will be responsible, because the desires of the soul is what animates the body. Though the body helps us accomplish those things. So you're not the machine, but you're the soul, watching it move and desiring it to move or making it move. And all activities arise from material nature. We have seen this concept many times before. If the Zoom is not working, if my Wi-Fi did not work, already my health is in the best condition, but still, if I had like a complete, my voice was gone, then we won't be able to have this. A lot of facilitation happens by so many other agents of the material nature, and then the soul can actually satisfy its desire. So in this connection, then Prabhupada is writing that this body is given according to one's past desires. So whatever body we have, it's a combination of our past desires, and the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill those desires. It's just a machine which is designed particularly. So because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances in this world to enjoy or suffer. So this transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. Once who has such a vision is an actual seer. Yes, Purva?
If the bodily actions do not affect the jiva, then how does the jiva create new desires due to which a new body is acquired?
What they say as the actions of the body does not affect the soul means the original nature of the soul, which is that is not affected, but the covering is there. So you can create more and more coverings around you, but internally the soul's nature is not going to be changed. The moment that covering is cut through, the soul is still going to exist in its eternal original nature. That's the meaning. Does that make sense to you?
So the soul never undergoes suffering or pain.
In a real sense, it is all because of its identification. Because the soul just cannot actually suffer, it is, but because it is identifying itself with the body. Say, for example, I was recently speaking to someone. We were standing next to their car, and we went around, and then we came back, and in that we were in a like a Costco kind of a place, and then while coming out, there was like a huge sound, and it felt like the tire burst, and it was exactly from the place where his car was parked. So we just rushed, and if people are all assembled nearby the car, so he was in anxiety, and then we realized it is the next car, not his car. So immediately the emotions changed. No more that anxiety was there because it is someone else's car. But when we walked towards that, there's a complete anxiety, because identification. This is my car, so if anything happens to my car, it is almost like happening to me. But if it happens to the next car, it does not affect me. So because of the pain and the pleasure is because of identification. So similarly, the soul is identifying with this body as mine, me. I am this body. If this finger gets cut, I'll be like, oh, I'm a person with a disability. My confidence, my identity of my own self will be so much affected. To be able to seen by others as someone who's useless is like because I'm identifying currently with the body and the ego. So the suffering is going to come. What will others think? How much of our life is decided, like dictated by this feeling, this one line, especially I would say for sure Asians. What will others think of me? That's it. The whole life story is just that one sentence. Even when I was joining a brahmachari, many times, like, of course, my parents were very nice, and they worried about my future and my safety and care and all of that. But once in a while, this will pop out from my mom. What will others think of me? I'm like, we are not worried about others. We are speaking about. So it's a very real thing. What would others think of me? What would the society say? What would the society think? And sometimes I feel people from a different culture wish they had that little bit of a fear. Their life would be better, because they're completely onto the other extreme of I don't care, and then they mess up things. And on this side, people completely live an artificial life because they're always worried about others. So this identity that I am this body, the more identification, that is the suffering. The moment that detachment happens, then you are a happy person. That's what Krishna says. A person, that's the same 5th chapter, you can see the 9th verse, 10th verse, those places they get. This person can actually continue to do anything he wants because he's detached from that conception with the body. He will engage. If the body feels hungry, he will feed it. If the body wants to evacuate, he will go and evacuate. If the body wants, for the health's sake, if it has to walk, it will walk. If he has to do something, because he sees it as a think, okay, my body is now tired. It's not that I am tired. My body is hungry, so I need to feed it. So it won't dictate what it like. He won't be completely dictated by it. He will see, if you have a pet, you see the pet. Oh, the pet needs water now. So it's something like that. It's I have this body, so then I will deal with it, do the needful, but I won't be dragged down by it. So the more one is detached, they'll be able to do the needful and make best use of the bad bargain. However, won't be dictated by it, but still you're responsible for it. So if you're detached, you'll become
Okay, thank you. I get it now. Thank you.
okay. I'm sorry. I think it's 10. I'm already receiving call. I'm supposed to finish this whole thing today. I don't know what did I do. This is hardly 3-4 verses, so excuse me. And it's already 10. Let's see if I can go through this whole section quickly. So when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. So not just in himself, when he starts seeing this combination of bodies and the soul and the presence of the super soul everywhere, then that is actually a practical achievement of Brahman conception in this world. So seeing unity beyond bodily differences. I think by mistake, I did not change these slides. That's a point from a previous slide. Then I'm pretty sure I put the purport here. Yeah. So when one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul. So when I see different body, then I understand maybe the deeds and the desires. That's the reason they have this particular kind of a body. So sometimes you need to go to the astrology. Some people might, but I'm saying sometimes without that also you can understand by your own prominent desires in this life. You can understand what probably led to this body to some extent. So if we won't refine those desires, if we won't get detached from those, it's going to produce new. Versus what kind of new desires are we creating today? That is why we take it so lightly, creating new desires. But those desires are the seeds which is going to create newer bodies. So what kind of desires am I creating? Because those are the seeds. And the same way, a combination of desires and deeds has led to this body. Similarly, for someone else in their situation, a different body. So when the person starts seeing that, one actually sees, and one can see this with that spiritual vision. They also become freed from the differentiations that causes, okay, here is a man, there is an animal. We glow the differences on a practical level. Yes, I won't go and embrace a snake when I have a spiritual vision. At the same time, I also won't be able to kill an animal just for my own pleasure. How much of entertainment is through torturing animals, actually? Forget about eating. Even for the sake of entertainment, so many animals are tortured. There's dolphin cities and so many things just for the sake of pleasure. So people do actually put so many living entities in trouble. So one becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness. Then gradually this can purify our consciousness. Then we can actually develop more and more Krishna consciousness. Okay, what happens when that particular this kind of a vision is developed? So that's what is explained here. So those with this vision actually does not become entangled. They become liberated, basically. So 32 verses saying, when you develop this kind of a vision of seeing the soul, the super soul, the body separately, and understanding the presence of the super soul, then liberation is guaranteed. The soul remains untouched by the material contact. So when we develop this kind of an attitude, we also can anchor, and amidst chaos also we can have calm. We can have a confidence, a spiritual level of calm we will be able to develop. So a living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the soul is eternal. Prabhupada is saying that, yes, sometimes we see that new people are new entities are taking birth, small babies, small plants, small trees, small pets. However, the soul is not freshly born. The soul is eternal. It just is acquiring a new body in their journey. It's a new chapter. So the same way, when somebody is passing away, it's not that they get destroyed. The soul is never destroyed because it is eternal. And they're giving now examples 33, 34. Those are two examples to show how that the soul does not get, or the super soul. You could take it either way. Prabhupada takes the soul route, and I have seen other commentaries which take the super soul route. So they both are possible. Just a minute, I have to text someone because they are asking. So I have seen other commentaries, proper commentaries, Vaishnava commentaries, that they also take the super soul. And here the soul is not tainted by the body, and the soul illuminates the body. That's the essential understanding of verse 33 and 34. The verse 33 explains that the soul is not entangled. because it is present in the body. It cannot be it cannot be contaminated. Its original nature cannot be changed. Whatever it is like an external covering. It could be removed. The moment the spiritual awakening happens, all that will go away. So the essential original spiritual nature of the spirit soul cannot be contaminated by its association with material body. That is the essential understanding of this 33rd verse, though it just sounds very complicated. So Prabhupada says, the air enters into water, mud, stool, or whatever else is there, still it does not mix with anything. So similarly, the living entity, even though it goes through the bodies, it is aloof from due to its spiritual nature. So it's impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with this body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. It's very hard to see. Prabhupada is saying the same also comes, I think, which chapter is that? So there's another verse which essentially says whatever Prabhupada is saying in these two lines, it's another translation of a verse that only one with the knowledge can see how the soul enters into a body and leaves the body. So the 34th verse, as I said, is also the same principle through a different example, how the sun illuminates the whole sky. Similarly, the soul's presence illuminates the whole body, the entire consciousness throughout the body. So Prabhupada says, as the sun is situated in one place but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. And this nice Prabhupada writes this sentence: consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul. And he also writes, consciousness is not a product of the combinations of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. Consciousness is not a combination of products of matter. It does not happen by a chemical combination over a period of time. It is only possible by the symptoms of the soul. So, however, that the soul is not supreme. The supreme consciousness is the super soul, because it is not just conscious of one body, it is conscious of all bodies. So that's the difference between supreme and individual consciousness. So these are the points Prabhupada covers in this purport, that how the sun illuminates the whole universe. Similarly, the soul, even though situated in the heart, can illuminate the whole body by its through the consciousness. And consciousness is not a product of matter, but it's a symptom of the living entity. It's a proof of the presence of the soul. And the last verse of the chapter, that those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, that is the soul and the body, can also understand the process of liberation, attain the supreme goal. So seeing the difference between the body, soul, and the super soul leads to liberation. Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport. Please take your time to read the last purport of this chapter and sit with it, because pretty much the whole chapter is summarized so beautifully in a matter of few lines. It's just wise, devotional, and also extremely scholarly, I would say, what Prabhupada can actually distill in such simple language. The purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. So that is the purport. The whole chapter is to make us understand the distinction. The word distinction is important. A lot of people confuse the soul with the super soul. They think they are God. Are you able to see my screen?
We can see. Oh, yes, now, yes.
Oh, you were seeing my previous slides. You did not see my.
Yeah, verse 33.
Oh, okay. So now I'm sorry. I just noticed. So
Now,
this
yes.
34 I read through this, and then 35 is the last verse, and then here it is. So the purport of this 13 chapter is that we should understand the distinction, because people speak a lot, but they confuse things. A lot of people speak very spiritual knowledge, but in the sense it's all like confused. They confuse the distinction between the soul and the super soul. And today in the neo spiritualism in the West, they confuse body, emotions, and the soul. Everything is spiritual. Oh, I had such a spiritual experience looking at the sunrise. I'm not saying it is impossible, but if you're drinking beer and seeing sunrise, I can believe that you had a real spiritual experience. So it's very hard. So any damn thing becomes a spiritual experience. As long as I like it, it's spiritual. So that kind of understanding is not, we're not speaking that as spiritual experience. We're speaking about the knowledge of spirit, soul as spiritual. So anything which is based on that platform can only be taken as spiritual. Other things, unfortunately, we don't have anything against them, but cannot be called spiritual. It's a very liberal usage of that term, I would say. So Prabhupada says a faithful person. So the words are so beautifully chosen. He has encapsulated Rupa Goswami's 9 stages of bhakti so beautifully in one line. So it is Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, and Bhajana Kriya, and until Prema. So in this one line, Prabhupada has encapsulated those 9 stages by this simple looking statement, deceivingly simple looking statement. A faithful person, not any random person. a person with some faith. Faithful person should at first. So how do I know if I have faith? So then, do you take as good association of what is good association? Association in which you can hear about God. So everything is answered in that one line. If you think, oh, who is a faithful person? Then he's saying, okay, first you should have good association. Whoever is choosing to have good association is a faithful person. What is good association? In an association where you hear about God. So a faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually become enlightened. Then eventually all the steps until prema comes. Once you have good association, you hear about God, then you practice, and then eventually nishta, ruchi, asakta, and prema, everything. So if one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit. So why do we accept a spiritual master? Main thing is the ability to understand spiritual knowledge. So then that's a stepping stone for further spiritual realization. So he's also clarifying that's not the spiritual realization. Oh, I can now differentiate matter from spirit, or that's it. So it's a more kind of an impersonal concept. But as far as bhakti is concerned, it's a stepping stone. That's why Gita also later in the 18th chapter, it will come. At that stage, this person can enter into devotional service. A spiritual master teaches. What does he teach? Who is a spiritual master? A spiritual master, by various instructions, teaches his students to get free from the material concept of life. That's all. If you ever want to know who's a spiritual master through various instructions teaches his students to get free from material concept of life. That's the first business. The spiritual master's business is not to smile at you, to give you a rose, to ask you how is your job going on. No, he can do that. There's nothing stopping him from doing that. But if he does not ask, he is not at fault. You cannot hold it against him. Oh, my spiritual master does not ask me how I'm feeling. No, it's not that he is impersonal and he won't ask. He will ask, but sometimes it may not be possible. So that cannot be the only criteria. My spiritual master did not look and smile at me. He does not like me. No, his idea is he has given you spiritual knowledge. Apply it. You will get free from the material concept of life. And Prabhupada is giving an example. Oh, here you see, Arjuna took shelter of Krishna. What is Krishna doing? He's basically giving him instructions to become free from materialistic considerations. And the last paragraph, congratulations, the last purport of the chapter, the last paragraph of the last purport. So one can understand that this body is matter and it can be analyzed with its 24 elements. Basically, there is going to be differentiation. I have highlighted body. There are various elements. There is earth, water, air, fire, all of those things. So you can put 24 elements to it, 5 gross senses, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, all of those things. But over and above all of this, there is the soul. Because when the soul is not there, the body decays. I remember once one of my friends, we were studying in college and he got a call. His grandfather left his body. So he had to rush. And it was a remote village. And it means we were all staying together. So it was a holiday time. So we all said, okay, let's go to the village. And then when we went back, it was like really late in the night. And his family members would completely denied, like they said, no, we cannot sleep in this house. We have to go somewhere. Like these are relatives of this person. But the moment the person left his body, they don't want to stay with that dead body at the house that night. I was like, oh my God, that's all. Like, he's your grandfather. But no, now this is a dead body. I'm scared. I cannot be here. So once the soul leaves, then the body becomes scary. That body we decorate and dress it with Gucci and Prada and all of those things and take pictures, post it on Instagram, becomes a completely scary thing. You don't see dead bodies being posted in Instagram, right? Like people don't actually post much on Instagram. Only cute things are posted. The reality of life is not posted much. So without this soul, the body becomes scary. Actually, like nothing, no more infatuation with it. And then the super soul. So understanding the body, the soul, the super soul. And then Prabhupada is saying one who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as this combination of the soul and material elements, and can also see the situation of the super soul, becomes eligible for transfer to the spiritual world. That's the main purpose of understanding all of these things, that we become spiritually elevated to the extent that we could be transferred to the spiritual world. So these things are meant for contemplation and for realization. So we have to contemplate on these things. And through spiritual practice and good association, we have to realize it also. It's very good. I can sit here and nicely contemplate with all of you loudly, but I also need to personally practice and realize it. So one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of the spiritual master. Don't just go around like deflating the soul with the super soul or the soul with the body and like that. So that's why Prabhupada is saying, understand with the proper guidance. And it is both for contemplation. It's not just I'll sit and contemplate and then I'll go and play golf later. It's okay. devotees can play, but I'm just saying it, they also need to realize spiritually. So it's not for armchair speculation. That's what Prabhupada is hinting at that. It's not just for just like kind of a feeling spiritual. I speak about these things and I feel very spiritual. No, it is also supposed to be practiced under guidance and to be realized personally. So I'll leave you all here, and just a very quick review that Arjuna asked 6 questions. I won't ask you what are those 6 questions. We don't have time. 6 questions. And in 2 to 7, those verses, Krishna spoke about Kshetra and Kshetra. And he also answered a little bit what is knowledge in those verses, but he specifically explained what is body, what is soul. And he also explained super soul, who's the knower of all bodies. And then what is knowledge? Knowledge, he said, the ability to distinguish matter from spirit is knowledge. But the idea is, okay, is that all? Krishna also says, okay, how do I develop that knowledge? That process was also given. And then, okay, by developing knowledge means you always understand something. So what is the object of that knowledge? That is the super soul, Gyeya. And Prakriti and Purusha was also explained. And now today in the bonus section, we saw how Krishna offers this eyes of knowledge through which one can see reality beyond how it appears at the material level of perception. I may look outside my window and see, oh, there are those things. Oh, there's a nice car. And I wish I had this car. Oh, they're having this thing. Oh, wish I had that. So it's a material level of perception. But to see the reality of who am I and what is this world and what is matter, what is spirit, what is super soul. So that is why he's giving this Jnana Chakshu, the eyes of knowledge, with which we can elevate ourselves and eventually be transferred to the spiritual reality through good association and personal spiritual practice. So thank you all very much for the patient